Greetings, salutations, and other big words. My name's Ethan. My handle is Wrangler. Welcome to Frequency Studios. It is it's not the weekly Wing It, but it is a Wing It promo stream. And here with us, Bonsart from Radio Retro Future. How you doing?
Very good sir. Very busy. And yeah,
I'll
we're in the
bet
middle
you
of a
have a
Kickstarter
lot
right
going
now.
on.
Yeah. So what's happening on the Kickstarter right now is that we reached 60 backers, which means I said that would unlock a contest, and that contest is now up with prizes. So we'll see how many people will respond to that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and speaking of your Kickstarter, the link to this, I think I have in the description below, but just in case, I'm going to drop in the chat now. And potentially some of the Wing It crew, the panelists might be dropping in at some point and have a few questions. It all depends on scheduling. This was kind of like midweek, midday here on the stateside. So yeah, what is about 6 p.m. for you right now?
6 p.m. Yeah, that's right. And then 2 hours, I have my own stream with some familiar names and some new ones.
Yeah, so you have quite the world built up. 2 books already. I mean, two novels. You have some other smaller books along with that. But
yeah, no, this is not including the comic book. Yeah.
Now, the comic book Kickstarter you have going right now, Journey to Elysium.
Yes.
This is the first, or is this an ongoing series that's already been started?
No, this is the first volume in an ongoing series. I expecting somewhere around. I hope to keep it below 10 issues. It will also depend on the reception, of course. But the first issue, these are the special edition covers. Is Journey to Elysium, the Ruins of Babylon, which is about on this world of mine, there is a space program called the Babylon Project that was started up in the 1820s. However, it failed miserably. And now in it's 1870, the guy who arranged it all, let's say the Elon Musk of his age, he's now living alone on the launch platform in the middle of the ocean, and he is getting a visit by a member of the Association of Ishtar who has certain demands, so to speak. And basically, the whole the climax is this conversation between the chairman of the Association of Ishtar and Ghulam Ali, who of course is not all that happy that they want to take his rocket away.
Yeah, I would imagine not. Now, the year you said 18 what?
I actually made a video about his lore. It's coming out in 2 parts. The first part is already live, and I received the final art for it today.
Yeah,
and the art the artist made is amazing. And that's gonna go up for the backers. So I hope to have that done by tomorrow, and the public people will have a spoiler. And finally, after the Kickstarter is done, I'll put up part 2. It's a new series of alternate history videos essentially, and it explains how this guy from India got the idea to develop a man's rocket to go to Elysium, which is this strange object floating in the orbit of the moon, or at least so they think. They're not sure. And yeah, the whole that's what the comic is going to be about a crew going inside the rocket to Elysium and discovering what is up there. For those who've already read Bound for the Sticks, already kind of know what is up there. Lord Otter already made a review of this, and yeah, it's kind of like a prologue, but you can just read it without a problem, as what's up in Elysium is already well established to most people.
nice. So the year you said was 18 something, right?
Yeah, 1870. That is where Journey of Elysium starts in 1871, from the top of my head. Yes.
Earth year 1871? Or is
Yes.
this Because I know
Yeah,
I believe a good chunk of your stories take place outside of a regular timeline or universe or something.
yeah, it's alternate history. What happened is that somewhere around the start of the French Revolution, Elysium appeared at the sky. And around that same period, all these portals called rifts started opening up all around the world. Many of these worlds are primitive worlds, some don't even have human life on them, but a lot of them do have futuristic civilizations. So what happens in this world is that all these futuristic technologies start floating in to the world. And what I do with the main story timeline is that they start like reverse engineering all these technologies. It's not going super fast, but for example, motorized vehicles are already well established. Currently, I'm working on a video. It's a general video on steampunk warfare. However, I'm again using this scenario to kind of like explore how they would develop the first tank in this timeline. Um, and how they got to the idea, because the annoying thing is, like, what I love about the tanks from the interbellum period is they like all these crazy ideas. You're probably familiar with the Tsar tank from Russia, the one with the massive wheels. Uh,
Okay, yep.
yeah, and yeah, so they also had like multi-turreted designs, like one with 3 turrets, then one with 2 turrets. All these things failed, miserable. Um, but yeah, the in this world they already have a general concept of what tanks will look like once they mature. So they'll skip all those experimental phases, so to speak. So that's kind of a shame, because it would not really make sense for them to develop such weapons.
Hmm. Yeah, a friend of mine, he loves watching World War II video essays and documentaries. And one of the things I think it's on YouTube, he loves watching like Nazi super weapons, and some of these tanks and
Mhm.
stuff that were concept but not built were
Yeah.
so huge. It was like it was just like on
What
one
were they
hand,
thinking? Yeah.
it's to look at it, it's at the same time horrifying yet laughable. It's like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
thing's giant and can obliterate me. That thing can't move, you
Yeah.
know.
Or cross bridges or be carried on trains. Yeah. I mean, the King Tiger is well. Okay, I was thinking of including the story of the King Tiger 2, or the Tiger 2, also known as the King Tiger, and how that machine was an absolute failure of a machine. I mean, then there was the mouse, of course, another weird ass idea. Yeah, but yeah, I wanted to get into it, but yeah, I skipped it. I even had like this whole well, not essay, but this whole part about American tank destroyers, and how on paper they look fine, but once on the battlefield, it was like, what the hell are you gonna do with these things? Like, they're tanks, but made of paper. you know, um, just a name.
Paper, huh?
Well, I mean, again, this is one of those ideas that work well on paper. Like, you have
Oh,
this
gotcha.
light, fast vehicle that can snipe enemy tanks, but then you realize, oh, Germans are hiding in hedges. They're hiding in cities.
Suddenly,
What
this
you're gonna
great
do?
thing became a glass cannon.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was like, well, I mean, there were like some situations where it worked, but most of the time it was like, what are we gonna do with these things? They were also open top, so you're not gonna drive into cities with them, because open tops. Throw a grenade up there from the third
Yeah,
floor and you're done. So
yeah. It's real simple for. It's real easy to get an idea and go, "Hey, this looks like it would work really well," and then you put it in reality and you realize how many flaws you actually had.
yeah,
But that's what
so I
testing
kind
is for.
yeah, so I'm kind of like introduced that in the steampunk warfare video, which is an armored car. Um, what was it? No, it was a GVD vehicle, which was one of the first French produced cars, and I basically steampunked that a little bit, where it's like, oh, first they just have a simple car with a machine gun on top, and That worked well against Chinese insurgents for a while, but then the Chinese started sniping the crew and took the cars for themselves. And so you want something more up armored, but then all the benefits of that light vehicle are gone, and you're still left with what essentially is an armored taxi. So that's when they came up with the idea. Okay, well, instead of a fast vehicle, let's go for a slow vehicle that can race to the right to the rice fields on tracks. Thus, they came up with the tank essentially.
Yeah, there's but since we first spoken, and then I go to my friend's house, he's watching those kinds of movies and documentaries and stuff. I started thinking, wow, Bonsart must not be able to look at old concept vehicles that never came to be without going, I could turn that into something. Because the world your world is set up is the past concept that were never able to come to be. A lot of them look like
Well,
they just
many
fit so
did.
perfectly in your kind of setting.
Well, I mean, they did come to be. They just like developed from a different situation. And that is kind of like the why so many people give up on conceptual steampunk, as I call it. Which in which case you actually try to like find an origin story for the steampunk technology on your world, that actually that's grounded. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah,
And yeah, that requires a lot of rethinking of history, like how did this happen. I mean, one of the things was with the rifts. Okay, so they got all these ideas from the rifts, but now what? Because when it comes to the tank in our own world, it was like, okay, they had a trench war. They needed something to cross the fields of Verdun without getting killed. So it makes sense to come up with a heavy armored vehicle that's impervious to small arms fire. So and then you have like the whole process that okay, it's extremely long, so it can cross trenches without a problem. But in this case, you have to come up with the whole scenario yourself. And trench warfare is not a thing. It's still pretty much, well, not muskets, but still that type of line infantry concentrated fire exercises. And then you have to sell generals on an idea of an extremely heavily armored vehicle, which is very slow, breaks very easily. It cannot keep up with the troops when they're on long marches. It cannot keep up with your cavalry. It's kind of a hard sell, you know.
yeah. It's like this thing would be great if we had a teleporter.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why first of all, I love the Renault FT-17. It's one of the first successful French tanks deployed in the First World War as well. Far more successful than the famous Mark 1 till 4 that everyone knows. And it became the predecessor of all modern tanks because it actually had a rotating turret. And it also has this cool hatch in front that kind of like folds open like some futuristic robot, what you see in the sci-fi films as well. So it looks futuristic in some ways. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a simple two-person tank. It had a driver and it had a gunner, and that's it. And they used it for everything. They would park it in the middle of no man's land, put some wires on it, and you had like a field armored field post, stuff like that. They did some amazing things with that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Now these portals that were opening up, were these like alternate realms within their own world, or were these completely other realities?
They were, in theory, they're all alternate timelines. There are some exceptions. I mean, one of the reasons why I created a multiverse was because I created the Steampunk Beginner's Guide on YouTube, and I got like all kinds of reactions of people working on their own steampunk worlds and books. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be fun if we can like have some hub of some kind that's connected to all these worlds, so people can share these in a kind of like shared multiverse. That was the original idea.
That's where the Association of Ishtar is based, on that hub.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
is that in, I guess, what would be the equivalent of what I call omnispace, like outside of a timeline or something, or is it in
Mhm.
its own timeline?
Every world has its own timeline. The idea is that every world has its own kind of like steampunk concept. They all have like a kind of cyberpunking of the past. Basically, these are timelines where some form of technological innovation changed history as we know it. Yeah, so I have got plans for a world that has the Roman Empire, but the Roman Empire developed the railways. So they are probably if the timeline would continue from that period on, they would probably be running short on coal. So who knows what kind of innovations they would have made. Um, but I mean, the idea of a whole army of legionnaires being shipped on trains to some place, yeah, I mean that kind of imagery really appeals to me. And yeah, I've got another one which is about cyberpunk wizards, people who believe their technology is actually magic. Um, that's another one that I really want to explore at some point. I did start with some story concept, but I need to work it out. I mean, I've been working on so many things. Um, but yeah, it's that's the fun thing, It's like, okay, like what kind of what if scenario can we come up with a new world? And I still hope to introduce other writers to the series and have them come up with such concepts, and we'll see where it goes, especially when we start working seriously on the RPG that we started on. But it's kind of like the game developer is very busy at the moment, so.
Yeah. Sounds like you started multiverse for a very similar reason. I incorporated multiverse into my writing. The whole
Mhm.
purpose of that was so if I meet other people who have characters, I'm like, and we're like, hey, we like each other's characters. I have a mechanism in place for them to play together.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I'm not a character focused writer. I'm a concept focused writer. And well, the idea is that worlds do not really interact with one another. Atlas is really the exception, and the only thing they can like take over from other worlds are ideas of because of how the universe works.
Huh. Yeah, it does get a little complicated whenever you try and do a multiverse thing, though. When you're trying to get into you got to establish rules and then make sure no matter which way you go, you don't accidentally contradict them.
Hmm.
Especially if you
Yeah,
start messing with time.
yeah. I have no time travel in my setting. Never been a big fan of it. There's
Of
like
what?
one series that I thought what did it very well, or at least original enough, which was what was it called? Steins Gate. I know
Not
people
familiar.
it's an anime. I think it's also a light novel. And
Yeah.
it's basically about a guy who discovers a means to send messages back in time. However, they come across all these problems because he can only, for example, send a message to one Nokia telephone to another. However, then they want to send a message to what is it, the 1980s, I think, and they don't have Nokia telephones, so they need to like find a pager um, to send that message. And yeah, it also has that it also suggests that time kind of has a sentience of some sort, and basically time starts to torture him, where he tries someone he cares for dies, and no matter how many times he tries to save her, she dies every time a different way. Um,
That is an interesting concept, though, with time being
yeah.
sentient.
Well, yeah, it's not really explained why it happens, but it suggests there are knots in time that cannot be overcome, and
Hmm.
so when a certain event happens, that event is just uh, rigged, as it were, and nothing you can do can stop it from happening. So and that's kind of like what he hits, and basically he watches the same person he cares for die like 80 times or something every time again.
Yeah. I even though I have a little bit of time travel in my own stuff, I kind of like try not to lean into it too much because
Mhm.
it could
But
also be it could get messy, and it could also become too much of a crutch.
mhm.
So
Well, I mean, another thing with problems with introducing stuff like that. Once you establish it's a thing, it's a thing, and and then this is often the criticism in films, like, oh, you've got this wonderful technology. Gee, how unfortunate you didn't have it in that situation and that situation and that
yeah,
situation. So it's
yeah, it's not something they could just go and do on a whim for the most part,
mhm,
and really they don't. I don't know if you call it time travel. They go outside their timeline, and if they re-enter it in the past, they just form a new branch. When they go back home, nothing's changed. But when they're outside the timelines in the universes, I call that omnispace, where it's just like a constant present. You can't, yeah, it has a past, but you can't go back to it. You can't time travel to the future. In
mhm,
omnispace, there's no alternate. And I have it set up like stars cluster together into galaxies. So I have multiversal clusters, and each
mhm.
cluster could have a different physics system. So that
Yeah.
way, and the whole point of that was if I wanted to collaborate with another and have a reason in canon why they could meet, that was the
Mhm.
mechanic.
Yeah.
And they
Okay.
don't do a whole lot of hopping. It's just there and established to be there mostly for that reason.
Mhm. Well, we'll see what happens when people actually start submitting stuff. Well, what I'm kind of hoping to do for now is that when, like, again, I'm focused on concepts, not on characters.
Hmm.
That people kind of come up with historical ideas that, oh, well, I've got this local history I'm really interested in, or this one topic, like, I don't know, Texas Rangers. So you come up with like where the Rangers are in, let's say, the 1820s, and then like how they develop into a science fiction concept or end up in science fiction situations.
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of how I want to approach things, and that's how I'm approaching the alternate history videos right now.
Yeah. So how you must have I'm trying to think. You must every time you have it where a portal opens somewhere, you must like have a whole logbook of every portal to every world that's been opened in canon or something. How does that get difficult to keep track of sometimes? Or
I don't bother with it. Like how I work is that I create a short story, and it specifies like this is where the gate is. However, all this stuff happens like very separate from one another. It's kind of like
Mhm.
worrying about where every volcano on the world is.
Yeah,
Um, so it's for me, it's not a problem. Except if I want to write a larger story where this particular gate is relevant, and otherwise it's just a matter of looking up at the short story and then stating where the rift is. Like maybe when we have like a dozen writers or so working at the same time on things, maybe then it becomes a necessity. But until then, I'm like,
yeah. You're
I've got
probably gonna
enough to do than to
have
worry
to
about.
designate someone to watch over all the continuity.
Yeah, right now I'm more worried about the consistency in themes
Hmm.
and how people approach it, because when people submit ideas, they often do so from a character perspective, and that's just not how you can do these type of stories, because everything revolves around the character. So when anyone wants to interact with it, it's not about any grand idea. There's nothing to play with. It's all about like this one character, and that is what often goes wrong. I mean, that's the mistake that Star Trek basically gone wrong, where in particular in Discovery, where it's all about one character, and how he becomes a time traveler and whatever, and there's nothing left for you to really toy with, so to speak. And
Yeah, once you develop the character too much, it's like, well, the whole growth I had planned for this character is done, and I still got all this more to go with the story. Now the character's going to get boring. Crap.
mhm. Well, for instance, like when I try to organize, but my stories is about grounded characters ending up in fantastical situations. So the focus needs to be on the fantastical situations, and then you can like put any character in there and see, well, this is how one character solved the problem. This is how another character solves the problem. Um, so you're kind of like reinventing the charge of the Atlantic Wall, you know. Uh, I think the what is that movie called again by the Western Star? Letters to Hiroshima and Flags of Our Fathers, which is both about the same situation but told from different perspectives, and thus you get two very different types of world building.
Gotcha.
And that's what's so interesting about it. And also, it means that we're talking how people are talking about world building is wrong, because every character basically has their own set of world building rules. Because for me, world building is about how do characters interact with the world around them. So,
yeah, what I had done is I got the world and the rules of it figured out before I figured out what the characters were going. Long before the characters were going to do, because I kind of I just lost the thought. Sorry.
Yeah, you were talking about how you created the world before.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I was going to reach for an analogy, then realized it was a bad analogy. There's the problem. I was going to use a video game analogy, but I realized I was about to use one that kind of got it backwards, so it wouldn't apply. However, something that it can apply is this.
Oh, good day, sir.
Surprise!
MD, your volume's way down.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can help that.
So, Journey to Elysium, does that take place before or after the two novels, or maybe in between?
It takes place before both novels. Yes. The Elysium is mentioned in both novels. In the Rage in the Machine, you can see the Elysium object in the sky, so that's how that worked. And Bound for the Sticks actually takes place on the Elysium object, and almost in its entirety.
Yeah.
So
how many? Now you got a whole series for Journey to Elysium planned, right?
Yes.
Do you know about approximately how many altogether,
well, I try to keep it on beneath 10 volumes. This is, like I said, volume 1. The Kickstarter is to help us fund the second volume. We've got 4 alternate covers. See how people like it. So this is the A variant, and this is the current most popular one, the C variant, which is inspired by the Victorian penny dreadfuls. Kind of like the precursor of the pulp magazines, and then finally the B variants, which is inspired by the artist's name eludes me for a moment, but the Storm comic books, which was a science fiction series that I read as a kid.
Those are prints of the book. I'm noticing
these are the special editions.
They're more magazine size than comic book size.
These are so these are the special editions. Now I have to say this is the typical size in Europe for comic books, for bande dessinée in particular.
That I didn't realize.
So when you buy a comic book in Europe, it will usually be this format, A4. I don't have the basic version handy. That one is about a quarter smaller than this one. Also has less content. This
it makes sense for them to be that size, though, because if a printing company does magazines and comics, they got the same size to work with. They're probably a lot simpler, more efficient.
Well, yeah. So, but yeah, I'm not familiar. Like the American comics are indeed way smaller, but like in Europe, all this is almost all this size. And what makes a special edition special? It has a lot more lore. It has more concept artwork in there, and also has like the background of the Airborne Dragoons with some unique art. So
was that an amphibious vehicle on that page there?
That is
it looked like the boat with skis.
Yeah, no, that's a Nimrod, and a Nimrod is a particular, very unique technology that the association, and in this case also the airborne dragoons, use. And also the power source is not disclosed in this book yet, so
I like a little
that
mystery
might
like that.
yeah, so that might become yeah, I think it's actually censored. Let me see if I done that properly in this test image, but yeah, it says here that it's redacted. I don't know if you can read it. Yeah, you can read it. So yeah, it says that it is redacted there, and yeah, that's a story for another day.
I really like that agent's handbook, though. That was really neat. Just going through like all his notes, what this is, what that is.
These ones, the
Yeah.
anthologies. Yeah, I'm very happy with this concept. I should work on a new one. But like these are the stories that inspired both novels. If you want to buy Bound for the Sticks, also get the Arcology Companion, because it explains a lot of the stuff that is you come across in the comic, but it's not explained what the background behind them is, and what they're doing all the time. This one, 321's notebook. Most of these short stories are included in the Wrench in the Machine. However, this is how you want to read them, and what I mean by that is that they're all heavily graphically modified, and in particular, this one also has some art by members of a Drink with Crazy community, like Skunk's artwork, who did a wonderful illustration, and I'm trying to find it right now, but I cannot find it because he made a wonderful illustration of one of the creatures that they come across.
It was good to see him pop back up again. We hadn't seen Skunks around for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden he popped back up the other day.
Yeah, but this one is by him, and yeah, it's
That's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm very happy with these. People like them a lot. I think that Lord Otter also commented on it, how the Arcology Companion changed his view of a lot of the stuff that happened in the book. So yeah, and of one of the books, of one of the short stories, he also made a video called "The White Airship." It's probably one of my best works in that regard, so I highly recommend you check that out if you haven't already. And it might also give you ideas for the contest that we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I don't know if what I have so far will delve into that yet, but I am kind of curious about that one particular airship.
Yeah. So yeah, it's well, the white airship is not about the one in the
Arcology
Elysium book. Although I should probably include a scene in the comic series as a whole about the white airship. But because it's really such a side story, like it's a central thing for Arcology. It's not a central thing for the story, so that should be like a side story that one of the characters starts investigating to figure out like where all these people in the city come from. Because the idea is that the idea behind Arcology, and why I thought it would be a good idea for the setting while we're still trying to find our audience, is that in this multiverse, once a world gets destroyed, a select group of survivors are picked up by the White Zeppelin and delivered to Arcology. And that yeah, kind of leads to this weird culture inside the city. And of course, the associates of Ishtar are completely new to this place, would like to figure that out. So it will probably be a side story like that. Or maybe if maybe I make it like a one shot or like a spin-off comic, like one shot thing, depending on how popular, how much money we're gonna make with future Kickstarters and stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah. But hey, for all of you out there who love to go spelunking for lore in the world, those companion booklets, those going to be right up your alley. I have one of them, and it's got some neat info in there. So it really puts a little more meat on the bones of the story, so to speak.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, and again, like how my work is, I start with a small idea, and once you've got that idea figured out, it starts to snowball. And oh, look, oh wow,
Another backer.
yeah, we've got a new backer. Thank you very much, person. Yeah, it's very, but I think that's quite a donation because it's hard to see because mine is all in euros. But no, that was quite a. Let me see what it was. Now I'm very curious.
This is good.
Okay. Oh, we've got two ones. Oh, we lost one. It would seem. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but we are in the. It was a small one apparently, but no, great, awesome, thank you. Oh, the complete digital collection. Thank you, sir. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I have your physical copies of the two novels right here, but I got the digitals so I could just take them with me in the Kindle. I like to leave physical copies at home where they're not going to get lost or damaged.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
but it did take me a little bit to figure out how when I got the digital copies, it took me a bit to figure out how to load them in the Kindle because it works a little different. But I finally got those in there.
Yeah, I may need to tinker with that a little bit because I share my books through BookFunnel, and it allows me to share it in multiple formats.
Me too.
PDF being the simplest, and then there is EPUB. I can make those through the Kindle Creator tool. That seems to be the best way to do it. But yeah, there tend to be some compatibility issues there, regardless.
It
Yeah,
took me
I
some
wish.
tinkering, but I did get it to work.
Yeah,
So they're
yeah.
in there now. I'm
With
not
mine,
sure
I
what I did, but it worked.
with mine generally I stick with just EPUBs on BookFunnel. Though I'm going to hopefully be looking into getting audiobooks out there too. So since it
Yeah.
just it's that function.
I will admit my ignorance. I never heard of BookFunnel until I tried to download your ebooks. So up till then, everything I got was just off of KDP.
It's one of those
Mhm.
behind the scenes kind of sites that if you're in the trade, you'll know about and you'll use it. But generally
Yeah.
speaking, the public doesn't know or care until, oh, I'm getting it through this site. Surprise.
Yeah.
It's like reviews. I'm on readz.com and I get book reviews, a couple of book reviews out of there that then I'll put into my Amazon and my Smashwords accounts, which then get shared through all the other distribution channels I have. So Smashwords, I'll tell you, is a great little extra thing to make sure you get really wide distribution. And then for my print distribution, I use Ingram Spark to get myself over in Europe and Asia and whatnot and Australia. So
Yeah, distribution is something I really have to learn a lot more about, and then marketing overall. It's one of the reasons that I'm launching. I have a Kickstarter version of Nwin during the final week, but I'm not using my actual ISBN number for it yet. So I can just get them printed on Amazon and then archive them. So I can do a completely clean launch with my actual ISBN number and see what happens. So that's going to be my next experiment.
yeah, for printing, I got to use my ISBN out of the gate. So
yeah,
I just and I've had issues in the past with Amazon and ISBN numbers when I first started publishing. And I always just make sure it's spend the money, get it over with, and you're going to do it anyway.
I never understood that. We go to Bokel to get an ISBN, but it seems like they are the only place we can get an ISBN.
Government sanctioned monopoly.
Yeah, I mean you can get an ISBN free from Amazon.
I can get them from multiple websites myself.
Oh, you're lucky. In the States we can only get it from Bokel. That's it.
Okay. Now we have multiple websites where we can get official numbers. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I did not know that.
It was weird though. It's like, here you go, $250 for two ISBNs or $350 for 10.
I shelled out for 10 the first time I did it.
Too.
I wish I could shell out what is it? 2,000 for 100. I mean, that's still a huge savings when you think about it, when you're paying $150 for one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was worth getting the 10 right then and there, because I mean, I figure you can do at least 2, maybe 3 formats, even more off of each book. You got at least a print and an ebook, but then you might be doing paperback and hardcover, then you might be doing audio. So I just grabbed the 10 because I wasn't even sure what I was going to need yet. I just knew I was going to need more than one.
Yeah, that's one thing that really annoys me, that you have to have a separate ISBN for your hardcover versions.
Separate ISBN for pretty much every version. Audio book,
audio,
graphic novel. I got 3 ISBNs for my fantasy series per book, because I got paperback, ebook, and hardcovers.
Yeah.
But
that's good. You have multiple options for ISBNs where you are, Bonsart.
yeah,
I think what was Boker is the one place, I think, in Australia too, or it was at the time I looked it up. But Australia got it like half the price we had to pay here, which was weird.
It's because they don't have to have competition in the States. They got a sanction on it, so they're going to do what they're going to do with the price.
Yeah, well, I looked at it, I was like, I'll buy them now before the prices go up.
Again.
Yeah, so I got an interesting question regarding the contest. If an Art Deco border would be enough, like, for the contest, like, no, not really. I'm expecting a bit more than that.
Kind of want to have the content in between that border. I love that side shot map there. That thing is just.
That's one of the wallpapers that we put out. Yeah, I might actually include, because I'm putting out a separate wallpaper with the new late ticket of Enwin. Then you can, for that late ticket, you get the ebook, the border, and an Enwin themed wallpaper. But if you already made your pledge on something else, I imagine you don't like that, so I might put out a separate wallpaper pack that includes all the wallpapers, so people can get them, because some people really love their wallpapers, I noticed.
You talk down about your marketing and whatnot, but I'll tell you just amaze me with all the stuff you're doing and getting out there. I just absolutely love this kind of stuff.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking like I could like also include like late night posters, but I mean, yeah, I'm sure people would love it, but I think I'm gonna save that for the next one. I might already be undercutting myself by offering Enwin with this one, because if I do an Enwin separate one, people might be less interested in that, but we'll see.
Just remember that attracts a different audience, and it's a separate revenue stream. That's nothing to sneeze at. So that's one of the things I'm learning going to vend at shows in one night, that people sometimes they want one part, but they don't want the whole thing, or so I show up, I have my science fiction books, I have my fantasy books, I ask them what they're more interested in, but the marketing of different little things, I mean, that's one of the things that Bambo insisted on when we go to them, is that we fill out our booth with more. So she made a whole lot of, we have medieval board games in there, and cloth bags. We have other things she sews. She makes soaps, but so we filled out the thing with all sorts of different merchandise, because these little trickles, they all really matter and everything.
Yeah. So I have something to show real quick. So we've got something else. I got this board today, and it has our patches, and it has our postcards, and we've got a new patch over here. This is the association patch. I'm really happy with that. So so they're all available as add-ons. So knock yourself out.
Did you do those as Velcro patches, or are they iron-on?
This one is iron on, but these are limited. I've only got a few of those left. That's why they're more expensive. The rest is all sew on.
Oh, okay. Because I know they make operator or tactical badges like that you can do with Velcro. I mean, I have my messenger bag here has a nice Velcro patch on the front that a lot of people put badges on. So I just wondered on that because I know a few people that'd be like, "Oh, I'm snapping that kind of stuff up."
Yeah, well, it's also the kind my kind of audience, and a lot of them are steampunks who don't like Velcro overall. So yeah,
Understood.
I mean it's all that extra cost that goes with that. And I mean the margins I make on the patches right now is probably should have asked an additional euro on those, but
that's more like just putting it out there in the world to let it sink into people's subconscious.
Yeah, it is true, but it's like because now I'm like, oh, I have to sell so many to make up the cost for the entire order. It's kind of thing. But I already like it that a lot of people are already showing interest in Enwin, and we've got quite. I think we already have like 6 orders for the Association of Istar patches, so I cannot complain.
Nice.
And
you go ahead. No. Finish your thought.
I wanted to finish that. For those who like 3D printing or tabletop gaming, we've got these wonderful bookends.
Those.
You painted that one though, right?
Yeah, I did not finish painting this one, so I still need to finish it. But we've got 4 different ones. We sell them per pair as STL files, and then you can print them at any size that you want.
Oh, that's
the same. Same goes for these 2 ladies. So these can be printed as tabletop miniatures.
Oh,
and we've
very
got
cool.
4 of those as well. I think they're €5 a pair.
Is that Ingrid in the left hand?
This is Igraine, yes.
I so want to do that with some of my books. That is awesome. You're ahead of the curve by a year on me, man. This is just awesome. Picking up all sorts of tips just watching you. By the way, this is one of the merch things that we kind of do is that we take our book covers, remove all the typography off of it, so people can actually get those. And if they buy an ebook at the fair, we'll autograph the back and give them the download code that way.
Yeah, I need to look into that because you can do that through BookFunnel, right?
Yep, that's exactly how we pulled it off.
Can you do that at all their tiers, or is that like a special? Is that like the higher subscriptions?
We're at mid tier. We took mid tier, so we're trying to figure out how to get set up for the audiobooks and things like that too. But yeah, that's what we do, and so they get the postcard with a download code, and they got that. I just had a woman we went to Vikings Con in Maryland this last 2 weeks now. And she came in, her husband's deployed, and she's like, "Oh my God, these books are exactly what he'd be looking for." And but he's at sea right now. I said, "Well, we got you covered." And I pulled those out, and she boom, 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 bought them. And when he comes home, he'll have the autographed cards, but he was able to download them to his Kindle on his ship, where I think he was doing a West Pass tour somewhere around the Philippines or something like that. I don't remember, but I knew it was out in the Pacific, and he was able to get all 3 of my books right that way. And so it's really great. And to watch people go, "Oh, I can get these right here autographed." It's a great little extra keepsake. They hang them on their fridge. So, and if you got good cover art like you do, people are going to snap them up.
Yeah. For example, mentioning the postcards. Bonsart sent me a nice little postcard.
Yeah, we have a postcard set as well. Yeah.
Awesome. We did fridge magnets as well, because the one thing I noticed is that well, my wife and we kind of collect magnets as well, but those are sweet pieces of art. I like that.
Yeah, right from the book cover. But
who's the artist that did those?
That is Valentine's Journey, but it's one of those artists that is ghosting me right now. So
okay, I understand.
It happens a lot. That one is Star Ranger. He's just too busy with his own work, but I am still in contact with him. He has his own amazing comic in the works. Jim Beckman from Brazil. Haven't heard from him in a long time, unfortunately, but he also has made some amazing anime-inspired works. That one is by Johan Alexander. He's doing the comic as well, and that one is those are the bookends. I might include those when I ship them. So
That was a great Iron Age of Nights with you two, by the way, last week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, by the way,
thank you.
you put just a little bit of snow into this one. It could look like a Christmas postcard.
Yeah.
Cthulhu-esque Christmas. I saw the Love Holmesian. I saw the Love Holmesian tagline. I was like, okay, that's just slick right there.
Yeah, well, I did not come up with that. It was actually readers who came up with that.
Oh.
Because even though it's not really, I mean, I call it cosmic mystery, because it's more of a mystery series than a horror series. Although definitely in the arcology campaign, there's definitely horror in there. Especially the White Airship is probably one of the more Lovecraftian things in there at the moment. I'm trying to work on more Lovecraftian stuff, but most of them just become like variations of historical cults. Because that's just how I'm wired. I'm not very on the fantastical. That's also one of the reasons that I hope some other writers would like to participate their 2 cents and add something a bit more fantastical out there as well. But yeah, you're also when you're writing speculative fiction as I do, you're always walking a fine line between grounded and fantasy. So that also is what makes it interesting, and it taught me a lot about how speculative fiction works overall, and how it works and how it's different from, let's say, typical fantasy, especially when it comes to the speculative steampunk and the fantastical steampunk side, which I will explore in my upcoming video on steampunk warfare. Yeah,
steampunk warfare, huh?
Yeah.
Before we get into steampunk warfare, though, do you want to address that art contest a little more in detail?
Okay, I can do that. So it's very much an experiment. Again, it's because we reached 60 backers before today. Thank you all the people who shared my stuff. Thank you very much. So these are some examples of what I'm talking about when I say the reason. Let's start with the reason why it's Art Nouveau. So I make on my channel Radio Retro Future a lot of stuff about steampunk, but I also made videos on 2 particular art styles that are very relevant to steampunk, which is Art Deco and Art Nouveau. Not the same thing.
No, not at all.
I am not familiar with either of those terms, so if you would enlighten me.
The good thing is for you on this page, if you scroll down, I have linked 2 videos, each explaining their design philosophies. That is arcology. Oh, I see. I need to make some changes there. If you scroll down further, yes, those 2 videos. The one is about Art Deco and arts and crafts, and the other one is about Art Nouveau. And those are currently my 2 most popular videos on my channel that people still watch every day. So yeah, I was like, okay, so I
just dropped the link to this page in the chat.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I absolutely adore Art Nouveau. I mean, Alphonse Mucha is one of my favorite all-time artists. So, and I remember. I remember the first time I got introduced to that was Coca-Cola ads from 1900. Knew a restaurant that decorated their walls with them, and they're absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, totally different than Art Deco.
Yeah. And I also absolutely love Art Nouveau, and it really suits arcology very well. So that's the examples on top that you could see. And I did a poll on my channel, like, what would you want a art contest to be about? And people chose Art Nouveau and Art Deco. Then I combined it with, okay, what do I have in that regard, which is kind of simple, that people don't need to read the entire series for. Well, there you go. This is the side view of the city, so it's a multi-tiered city. And it has no set identity because all these people come from different timelines and different histories, so they have no point of reference for one each other's architecture. And for those people who have played or seen Sunken City, flawed game it might be, there are some real gems, some real inspiration for arcology in there.
We could build a Metroidvania out of that city.
Yeah, you could. Well, not necessarily outside the city, but definitely out of the rest of the sim, because arcology is just a one tiny part of that entire structure. Because that thing is the size of a small planet. So
that's the outer skin that we see there in the upper right corner, isn't it? So I'm sitting there. I was trying to realize.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, that's yeah. So above that is the Great Machine, as they call it, and that thing kind of like determines the seasons, for lack of a better word. But yeah, it has kind of like some. Now it doesn't have a 24-hour cycle. I think the day cycle is 26 hours. 36. Sorry.
36.
But then the nights become like really cold. The moment the light of the machine fades away, it becomes really cold, and it can actually freeze during the night.
Let's check out the bottom level here.
Yeah,
interesting. So, yeah, I would like I like how it looks like a mishmash, yet still remains like a consistent flow through the whole thing.
Yeah,
The building styles are really neat.
It's the idea, like I drew a lot of, like, when I try to imagine the buildings, I considered like Rome, most particular, like the insulas. And so they've got like shops on the ground floors of those big buildings, and then like small rooms where one or two scavs or kibs sleep. Because basically the rooms are just places to sleep and store stuff. Like people basically live out in the street, in the saloons and that types of establishments.
It's a George Carlin stand-up routine called "A Place for My Stuff." Just set my mind. I don't know if you're familiar. I
know what you
definitely
mean,
got that Italian stylization there in this tower.
There's a certain aspect that reminds me of description of the London Bridge on a book titled Ex Libris. It's a 15th century murder mystery sort of thriller, spy thriller. It's really kind of cool. But that some of these buildings remind me of what used to be on London Bridge before the Great Fire of London. So I love that vibe. But then, of course, with the added steam power aesthetic added in. So I absolutely love it. I'm a big believer in mashup.
Yeah, it's mostly Art Nouveau inspired, as like it's really all improvised stuff. On the ground floor there is another version of this wallpaper that actually has the background of the ground floor of the bazaar, and the bottom level, where most of the activity is. And there we've got Miss Style from the Bound for the Sticks. The girl on the left, that's Igraine, before she ended up on Atlas. And there you see the kind of like Art Deco wizard mixture that I was going for. That is one of my first drawings of her. I'm not a great artist, but that was the concept that I made of her.
Is that my computer screen doing that, or does she have two different color eyes?
She has two different color eyes, yes. Like her left eye is a cybernetic one.
I didn't even notice that. Good eye. Bad pun not intended.
No pun intended. Yeah, it kind of helps that I actually have it full screen on mine, blowing all the way up. I wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
But that's why Strixie, that's her arcology avatar, so to speak, has an eye patch, because she loses her eye during the events of the Wrench in the Machine. And she goes to arcology to get it back, so to speak. Because although most people in this world are basically from Bronze Age civilizations, some of are from extremely advanced civilizations. Not that they can do much because they don't have the resources, but Yeah, they do get some interesting finds from time to time in the husk of Elysium.
Tim Allen says, "Raise the mead horn, and hoist the axes. All hail the Iron Age."
Yeah.
That's like the hardiest greetings you can see in the chat right there.
If you're gonna go all the way, right?
Yeah. Orang Marverillian said, "That looks awesome." Ultimate Kahuna popped in real quick. Unfortunately, he's at work, so he couldn't join.
We'll hold down the fort
Resident
for you.
One is. I think that's
me.
Resident One looks familiar.
Yeah, that's me. I talk with people in the chat. They deserve a little loving.
A.S. Bruner popped in earlier, said greetings along with Nikolai Powell, and R.C. Scott popped in real quick.
With a Kahuna-esque woo a la emoji.
Yeah, his woos can be my neighbors complain when he does the woo, and he's on the other side of the country. He's waking his neighbors up in Alaska.
My neighbors aren't close enough to be bothered.
Yeah. I also, by the way, just found the option in the book funnel that you meant, and I need to upgrade my account for that to use that. But
it'll work great. Trust me. We have been extremely satisfied with that so far. So there you go, sucking up the book funnel for fun and profit.
Now, if I could dig a little, does that mean this is Igraine on the cover here? I didn't recognize her. I mean, I recognized her on the other cover. I didn't realize that was her as well. And I do see Anwin with her, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's Anwin as a harmless doll.
I can't wait until Bambo gets you the proofs for the Anwin doll.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I already seen like a preview.
And I found
that's also Igraine covering her head right now, but she also has Anwin all the way down there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna. You've heard of Where's Waldo? Well, get ready for Where's Anwin.
She's everywhere.
Yeah, put Anwin in absolutely every picture hidden somewhere. See if they can find it.
Surprise!
I might have to now. Yeah.
And then after that, I want to get all of Anwin's stats and see how she'll handle going up against Chucky.
Make little Anwin or kawaii Anwins that are going around the Art Deco border doing stuff, sort of like illuminated text.
Well, that's an idea for the people who want to participate in the art contest.
Yeah, I'm here to help.
Yeah. So what is the what are the grounds, the stakes on this art contest? What?
The first place gets the full paperback collection, and the second, and depending on the amount of people participating, the second and third will get the complete digital collection.
Nice. Makes me kind of wish I didn't stop drawing when I was younger. Yeah, I thought I had a little bit of artistic talent, just needed some training. Turns out I'm better at the writing than the drawing. So,
if I focused too much on drawing, I couldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now. So,
exactly. And Tim Allen.
And again, I'm very happy with Johan.
Anwin up against Annabelle. We like Anwin. Ooh. We don't want her. We don't want Annabelle.
Well, Anwin has a taser, so and a lot of technical know-how.
But are you familiar with Annabelle, Bonsart?
I am familiar with Annabelle. I have not seen the films.
Yeah, I actually met the people, Ed and Lorraine Warren. I did not go near that doll. I don't know how true the stories are, but I wasn't looking to find out.
Dolls don't do much to scare me, with the exception of the clown doll from Poltergeist. That one.
That's even worse.
That one did me in.
You know what the fun thing is? We can now torment Royce with the Anwin doll because the concept itself already creeps him out.
Well,
so hold him by the camera.
Well, I think
Clowns
that's more the
creep
case of
me out, though.
if his daughters get their hand, or wife, yeah, if Rose gets her hands on it, what'll happen?
Let's see, real life demon possessed doll, or or a simple regular clown doll. I think I'll take my chances with the demon doll. I hate clowns that much. One
So
time
Penny-
we inherited from one of our family members an oil painting of a clown, and I looked at this thing. I'm like, no, why is this in our house? No.
can't sleep.
And I'm like, I'm about to hang it up across the hall from a painting of Vigo from Ghostbusters 2 just to keep this thing in check.
Vigo, the Carpathian.
He is Vigo.
I tell you, that movie it wasn't the greatest, but Peter McNichol just acted the crap out of that role.
Yeah.
He was great. Why am I doing things with glue?
He owned it.
Yep. It's just I wish the script would have been stronger for that movie. I'm a Ghostbuster fan. And I deny the existence of 2016. So, but yeah, I love the style of Elysium there. It's a great look, sort of the crossover between Art Nouveau and Art Deco. I went Deco Punk for my science fiction series, so it's a Deco Punk meets Cyberpunk meets Biopunk meets Nanopunk, all squished together in a big meaty ball of goodness. And for Steam Power, though, I said if I'm going to write fantasy, which I ended up doing, Akinowazi Saga has steam powered Vikings, so I went.
That sounds dangerous.
Paddle wheel longboats. Just picture that and go, wait, what? But I said, one of the rules when I did that for Akinowazi Saga is that the steam has to be hard science. The only thing that really irritates me about steampunk is that the magic steam.
The steampunk aesthetic. Don't confuse the genre with the aesthetic.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, when I saw the videos saw the trailers for Wild Wild West, for instance, and the giant walking spider that was steam powered, I'm like, although it looks cool, my brain said, so how are the gyroscopes working? Where are the computers?
That's what killed that
for me. But on the other hand, Steam Boy, lots of fun, except for, the steam ball about yay big powering that gigantic colossus. I was like,
you want to know
I want to love it more. It's so cool looking.
You want to know how I rectified that whole spider thing in Wild Wild West in my own head? I just went, you know what? Screw it. It's a movie. I'll chalk it up to PFM and then watch the battle. that was how I was able to enjoy it, because I started to get hung up on Steam is great and all, but how is he integrating it into his nerves and all that stuff? And I was like,
how can he just develop something like that, and why are combustion engines beyond him?
Yeah,
that is what I want to know.
Yeah, I want to see the size of that boiler.
I want to know. We got cyberpunk. How many different punks are there? There's cyberpunk, diesel punk,
around 20.
Yeah. What's the least advanced punk out there?
There's actually stone punk, which is caveman based. And I basically say, you're just joking. That's not really a punk.
I was going to joke horse-drawn carriage punk, but
probably
stone punk goes back even further. So, and that's an actual thing.
Yeah, there is out there. I've seen a few. You go to tvtropes.org and you can find about every sort of punk that's out there. I mean, I get it. Some people are into that, but I'll stick with stuff that Bonsart's doing before I even come close to that, because at least with the whole Victorian era, there's a certain class and style to it that I really,
and that always grabs attention too.
Yeah,
it's very distinct. It's recognizable, and it just it stands
out.
Tim.
Yep, that's right, Tim. They have less time to work at the oars, and unfortunately, they're down in the boiler room shoveling peat or throwing wood in there, because they don't use coal either. I went with peat and wood as their major sources of power. So, I
worked on the Great North paddle boats.
Yep. It's quite a mix master of things, but
But that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah, I wanted a very North American fantasy, so I ended up saying, well, what are things that I want in it? And one of them was steam power. So I just said, I'm going to keep it real and push it back to 1830s style steam technology. So, the Stevenson rocket and things like that. Yeah. And then that all came from a goof that happened playing from Civilization 1, Sid Meier's Civilization. I had a game where I discovered the railroad without discovering gunpowder. Don't ask me how I pulled it off, but I all of a sudden had trains and swords. And I was like, how does this work? So that created a whole theoretical discussion in my mind of what that actually would look like. And then I said, but with Vikings.
So, speaking of Vikings and fighting, Bonsart, you were about to mention the Steampunk Wars.
Steampunk Warfare. Yeah, that's a video I'm currently working on, and that was the little thing that I also mentioned with the tank, where I kind of speculate for both my roles, like how could a tank come to be in my setting when they already kind of know the future of the tank. So for me, it's all about reverse engineering. It's kind of like the thing. One of the dilemmas in my setting is it doesn't have any genuine inventors. It's all reverse engineered in one way or another.
That reminds me of an old show called Connections 2 that would take ancient technologies and connect it to modern marvels, and how the two things, like the one I always remember is how was perfume connected to a Lamborghini. And it was brilliant. So when you're talking reverse engineering, all that stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that's half the fun. I would love to see
Lamborghini.
Yes.
What's that odor? What's that alluring odor you're wearing? Is that
car?
High octane, yes.
Yeah, there you go. See, you get it. But I love how the reverse engineering. I really want to see your what you come up with for a steam powered tank. I really do.
No, they don't. They have combustion engines, so they don't need to even go with the steam power.
Oh, so you're sort of sliding a little into diesel punk or Tesla punk?
No, my definition for the steampunk genre is cyberpunk in the past. And in the 1830s, they already had electric cars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I've always gone under, when you say cyberpunk, it means high-tech, low-life. And so that still works with steampunk. It's just with the historical Victorian Gilded Age aesthetic and mentality, and using the technology of the day in different ways. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, they already had, like they were already working on nuclear power at the time, but
it's all
it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, Madame Curie says. That's the one thing about the Victorian era or the steampunk stuff is you have all these great inventors and theorists out there at that era where they just were discovering so many things that nowadays our entire society is based off of. I mean, my wife's an electrical engineer, so I get to hear about all sorts of things on how the power grid exists, and I take a look at it and go, Tesla, Edison, those Westinghouse, those guys were geniuses, and amazing how it came out. I mean, Tesla head and shoulders above the rest, but still, you sit there and go, man, and it's beautiful to be kind of able to take it back and look like that and get that same vibe with yet a very current sensation. So I'm a big lover of it. That's why I went Deco Punk.
Yeah, I also must prepare for the next stream in a moment. So some final questions for the night for me.
Okay. About how long is the campaign for Journey to Elysium going to be running?
12 more days.
12 more days?
So,
all right, and this
technicalities, but yes,
this is for issue number 1.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, the issue number 1 is already been funded and paid for and all that. It's all done. So the moment when the Kickstarter is done, as soon as all the money is in, so go check your credit card details if the date is correct. It's not expired or anything. At the moment, all the money is in. I can start shipping.
Nice.
So for Europe, I'll probably be able to do it right away because I don't get that many from Europe. So once those are all paid, I can start shipping them out. And for the United States, I first need to ship the patches and stuff to my distributor, Critical Blast, and then he's gonna ship it out from there.
That's
So
actually a cool name, Critical Blast.
Mhm.
It's such a perfect name for what we all do. It just works well. I remember when I got your books in the mail. I had this package from Critical Blast, and I'm going, what cool name, but what is this? I had no idea. I opened it up, saw your books. I'm like, aha, mystery solved.
No.
It's a great Kickstarter page. I'm sitting there going, ooh.
Yeah, so you're going to be starting another stream here in a few minutes.
The other guest is already messaging me. So I'm gonna take.
Well,
a 20-minute
I'm dropping the
break.
link. I'm dropping the link to your YouTube channel in the chat.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and then I'll have Mr. Bonsart here, and then also gonna have a certain Mr. Trotter who's also doing a Kickstarter at the moment.
Nice.
A cosmic steampunk horror, and that's gonna be the next hour or so.
Awesome.
Busy day because I'm also finishing up the new video. That is for the backers alone. So I'm currently working on a 2-part video. The first part has already been published at the beginning of the Kickstarter, and then the start of next month. Yeah, I mean, you've got after the Kickstarter is done, you've got 2 more months. Otherwise, you can PM me if that's a problem.
So it will be available for purchase even after the campaign closes?
Yeah. I mean, if you are quick enough, I might be able to ship another order to the United States. But you got to be quick, or you got to be specific, or maybe we can arrange something. But communication, we call that, and yeah. But the video, so I put out the first part is already out of the 2-part video. It's about it's about the history of India and how that led to the development of the first manned space rocket, and the second part is going to be the part about the rocket program itself and Ghulam Ali, and how the situation happened that starts in the comic. So that's going to be a complete alternate history there, and that's going to be for backers until the campaign is done.
Now, one other question is kind of more of a side thing, but you've obviously put a lot of thought into the lore and the punkness of your world and everything. I was wondering, does your world contain anything more on? It's very much in the sci-fi realm. Does it have anything that is more fantasy-based mixing with it, or is it straight up sci-fi?
Well, not yet. Like, I try to keep things grounded as much as possible because one of the things that I'm afraid is power creep. And the thing is, the idea is that they're fighting all these aliens and super advanced civilizations. And if I'm going to give all the characters like Tesla cannons and all that nonsense, what's left? Oh my God, they're aliens and they have the same weapons we do.
Yeah, now it's just 2 people fighting.
Welcome to Marvel. This is exactly their problem.
Yeah.
They jumped the shark too early.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You can only save the universe one time before everybody goes, well, okay, now what?
Yeah.
You got nothing left after that, because going back to just saving the city, okay, what about saving the universe? That was actually one Highline book I actually appreciated called Glory Road, which sort of dealt with and they lived happily ever after, and the hero was like, I'm bored.
Yeah, you know how I'm compensating for that after I had one story with like worldwide stakes. The next story, I need to pull it back a bit so it doesn't get out stupid. The next story is simply a missing persons case.
The problem is whether or not the audience lets you pull back.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
But it depends on tone, how the characters are, their personalities, you know, the setting, does it allow for that? In some cases, it's like you get mythical figures, you kind of always have to keep going bigger and better. But when you have a more grounded character, she could be in stakes where it's like the world will take a different direction based on what I do here, and the next one it could be a more personal story. If you keep going, save the world, now save the universe, save the multiverse, save the cosmos. It's just like, okay, now we're just getting dumb.
Yeah.
And as you said, welcome to Marvel.
Well, as my final statement then, and to answer your question, what I've done basically in The Wrench in the Machine is that it started kind of like a Midsummer Murders-esque story where Inspector has a murder to solve, and then it just goes into kind of like this very extreme cyberpunk-esque situation where he's fighting like kind of like transhumanist cult. That's something that I intentionally did, where it goes from very mundane to extremely out of this world. And then that's also the kind of like the approach that I take to the alternate history stuff as well. But yeah, I start small and mundane, and then I'll see where it ends up. And I always found it a lot more satisfying than having heroes like all these superpowers and unique stuff, but having like a super weapon like for the final battle type of deal. But
a super weapon?
No, I have not written a story like that already, but I really love that in things like Power Rangers, where the Power Rangers then get the power of the Green Dragon, and
we have a super weapon here. We have one right here on the channel. No, the cats, that's our doomsday device.
Okay.
No, the super weapon is simply
Jewish space lasers.
She has given us such a gift with that clip. It's the funniest, most cartoonish thing I've ever seen a politician say.
Yeah.
But
But one final thing that I have not mentioned yet. Bound for the Sticks audiobook is already available if somebody wants to make art based on that. Like I said, this takes place in arcology if you are looking for inspiration. I also allow general art of the series, general fan art, but again, it has to have some Art Nouveau, Art Deco inspiration in there.
It has to look like it fits, pretty much.
Yeah. So it has to fit the theme of the contest. So I'm using arcology mostly because I think that's the most easily accessible and has the most ideas to pick from visually. And with that, I hope people will back the series, of course, and help us fund issue number 2 and the rest of the series. All historical religions exist. Christianity, Islam, all those religions exist. And then I'm working on some other cults and transhumanist movements. But a matter of fact, in the historical warfare video, I'm mentioning the Taiping in China. So they're Christian, quasi-Christian sect that actually existed, by the way. They
I've heard of that.
They had World War I before World War I. So
I might have to look into that. That I've never heard of that before. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I understand you do need to get going, so
I gotta do.
Thank you so much, Bonsart, for coming on and sharing your work with us like that. I mean, that's so much cool stuff here, and I cannot wait to see this is going to keep growing and growing.
Oh yeah. And again, people are free to let's see, how young of an audience did you shoot for in your writing, Bonsart? Young adult and older. I mean, I've got like teenagers reading my stuff. I've got like my uncle is 80 and he's reading it. So it's
good when you can get family like that. It's good when
Yeah.
they do your work too.
Sometimes they're the toughest people to get to read your book, and they're the ones you want feedback from the most. You know?
Yeah. Well, my uncle and I actually had very deep conversations about a particular bound for
Oh,
the
that's
sticks.
great.
Yeah. So.
Excellent. Well, this was fantastic. This was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see where else this goes. I got a physical and digital ordered for
And
Journey
also
to
check out the
Elysium
draw in
and
here if you haven't
Annabelle.
already. Yeah.
And the
you can
Annabelle
also-
book. That
Oh.
And win.
Yes.
And win.
Yes.
sorry, Anwin. I can't believe I did that. I'm sorry, Bonsart. They are not the
No
same.
problem.
He's
No problem. Also, you
the-
can get yourself included as a character or a character that you like or whatever. We've got a draw-in here as well.
Very cool.
That's awesome. So links are in the description. I also put them in the chat. You got the art contest, the main site, and the campaign going on right now. Bonsart, thank you so much. I wish you all the best and hope to have you back again sometime soon.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Whenever, man.
Like
Awesome.
deals, guys. Like deals.
If you enjoyed this presentation, hit the like, and if you didn't, I appreciate you stopping by. We'll
And
see you next
remember,
time.
we'll be streaming in
God
another half
bless.
an hour.